Last week, you were out of the office, holiday week. Seemed like there was a little bit that flared up about daycare centers and funding of daycare centers. You had released a statement suggesting that you were aware of incidents of harassment.
Yep.
Are you aware of incidents of fraud?
We're not yet, but we're working really closely with our agency, DCYF, that oversees a lot of that. And what we started to get was a real flood of complaints, people concerned, people showing up at their house trying to film children. And no matter the issue, if people are complaining in our office that people are showing up trying to film their houses and their children, like that's an issue that like, hey, that might be harassment. You got to calm down. And then the allegations of fraud are something that we have to take seriously and make sure that there's not fraud there. And if there is fraud, people should be held accountable for it. But what I was really concerned was about the level of harassment, sort of random vigilante people just showing up on people's doorsteps. Like that would make all of us scared. And some of the rhetoric around it, frankly, is racist, and sort of the hate that we've seen generated around that, and that's an area of concern for me as well. And so I think we need to investigate things that are happening. We need to hold people accountable, but we need to also tamper down some of these harassing allegations and see if that's something that we need to look into as well.
Obviously, people are sharing things on social media, but has anybody sent you documented complaints of fraud?
Well, I'm not sure if anybody has because we get a lot of intake, so my team hasn't briefed me on that. But we're seeing a lot of allegations. I mean, even what we saw in Minnesota was a lot of allegations, much of which has been debunked already in like the 48 hours. If there are allegations here, that's something that law enforcement and the regulatory agencies need to take very seriously. But what I don't trust is some random YouTuber showing up at somebody's house saying there's fraud here, because most often they don't have all the information. They haven't done their own fact checking or fact finding. But that's something that we need to take very seriously.
Can your office handle an investigation and also defending DCYF in a case like this?
Well, that's a good question, because we don't have original law enforcement jurisdiction. So if there are criminal allegations, that's something for local law enforcement or for federal law enforcement. We're also not the auditor, right? We don't audit programs. We take allegations against consumer protection and antitrust and civil rights violation. So depending on the type of issue, it may be something that we investigate, but most likely it's not going to be us. And we work with our client, but part of our work in representing state agencies is to make sure that they're doing the right thing under the law, that any abuse that might be happening in their programs is not occurring. So we work with them, but we don't investigate criminal allegations unless the local prosecutor or the governor asks us to do that.
How will the public ultimately know what you find?
I'm hoping that both at a state and local level, there's a fair amount of transparency around the issues, whether there's something that's substantiated or some of the allegations that we've seen that there's not substantiated. So we're going to, it's being incumbent upon the state and local officials to really just lay out as much information. But again, so much of the uproar has been really without much basis. But if there is facts there and there's something that's wrongdoing, then we need to make sure that stops.
So at this point, is there anything that you've seen in the last week as this issue flared up that concerns you?
Well, I'm concerned about people being harassed in their homes. I'm certainly concerned about allegations of fraud. The public dollars have to be entrusted. But again, we're at the early stages of getting any reports about whether any of that is real or not. But we're going to take that seriously.
So in terms of fraud right now, is there anything that you've seen or heard that you're concerned about?
No, but again, like I was off most of the last week, the first time in over a year in this office being off. We've gotten a ton of intake, both people concerned about harassment at their homes and also allegations of fraud. That's going to take a while for the people to look through. But nothing that I've been briefed on yet. But I'm hoping DCYF really leans into the work and gets to the bottom of what all this is. But a lot of this is generated by the president and Elon Musk tweeting out unverified reports in Minnesota, and that quickly, grew a storm across the nation, and people, out making all these allegations. So there's a lot to weed through. I'm almost positive that a lot of that is nonsense, but if there's any truth to it, then we need to take it seriously.
But if you put the political aspect aside, isn't there an importance here with making sure that public dollars are spent the way they're intended and they've been allocated?
That's why I just said that a moment ago. I think I just said a minute ago, the public dollars and how it's really important. And with any large government program, there's always that risk or danger that there may be fraud, but we want to make sure that we investigate that fraud before we make allegations. And journalists need to hold people accountable. They need to investigate. What I'm concerned about is YouTubers showing up at your porch and filming children.